Mr. Bob Burg, welcome to Croatian podcast Surove Strasti.
Thank you, Sasha. It's so great to be with you.
Thank you for taking our invitation, and thanks to Borna for contacting you. You know, you are one of my really big influences, along with Michael Mayer and Michael Port. If you know him, you probably know him.
I do. Those both are great friends of mine.
Yeah, that's like in 2014, I've read these three books, and they like changed the way I think of my business. I'm in the education business, and these three books are like something that like made a significant difference in the way I approach as a service provider. So I'm really glad you're here.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, you know, the first book I've read, you authored, is The Endless Referrals, and another book is Go-Giver. And the Go-Giver, I must say, really influenced the way I think of my clients. So thank you for writing the book.
My absolute pleasure. I had a wonderful co-author, Johnom Davidom Mannom, who was really the lead writer because he just is such a fantastic writer. So I was very fortunate to get to collaborate with him on that.
Great. Michael Mayer told me, Michael Mayer wrote a business parable book, right? The 7 Levels of Communication. Yes. I was wondering, did you influence him to write a business parable?
Oh, I don't think so. I think you know, Michael was very successful in business, and long before he read any of my books. I mean, he was I think in the entire North America, he was the second. He received the second most number of referrals in real estate. So I mean, a person really has to know their stuff to be to do that. So he's such a fantastic guy, and he was a wonderful realtor. Now he's teaching others how to do that. He has just really earned his successes.
Yeah. So what's your reason for writing a business parable? Why not just put everything in steps?
Yeah, well, and those were all my other books have been just step by step, and that's sort of how I am. I'm sort of a step by step how-to type of person. This could never have been the book it was without Johnom Davidom Mannom being the storyteller part, you know, and so forth. And the reason for the decision to do it in parable form is just because parables, which are stories, they tend to connect on a very deep level. They connect on a heart-to-heart level. And there's an old saying that words that come from the heart enter the heart. And it's just easier to do that with a story. Stories connect. And once that connection is made, then the how-to information is a lot easier to communicate and to digest.
So did you like 10, 20, 30 years ago decided to go strictly by referral, or you decided also to use other marketing channels?
Yeah, I don't think it's one or the other. I mean, I think that when you have a very healthy referral-based business, that's obviously the best way to do business. And because with referred prospects, it's easier to set the appointment, obviously, because of borrowed influence. With a referred prospect, price is generally less of an issue, which doesn't mean it's a non-issue, but it's generally less of an issue because, again, that borrowed influence going in, that person knows you're someone who can be trusted and someone who is respected. So you're able to sell on high value rather than low price. With a referred prospect, it's easier to complete the sale itself. Borrowed trust. You know, that person maybe hasn't done business with you directly, but someone who they know, like, and trust has said, this is the person you want to work with. This is the person who will take care of you. This is the person who stands behind their product or service. And another great benefit of referrals is that the person, this person is already of the mindset that that's how you do business because that's how they met you. So in their world, it's very natural to provide you with additional referrals because that's how they met you. So I think it's much better to do business that way. And really the goal ends up being that your prospecting is within your referral network. Nonetheless, we still also need to be cultivating additional prospective customers and clients, even outside that network of referrals, because you always want to keep things going. You always want to keep the business progressing, keep that list of high quality names and connections growing.
So how do you communicate to someone, to a new person you meet? Like, how do you achieve this effect to become a trustworthy person?
I think it begins. I think it begins with your first conversation.
Yeah.
And you do this really, Sasha, by focusing on the other person. So let's say you meet someone at an event. It might be a charity event. It might be a business social event. It might be just a social event, or it might be a business event, or it could be a sporting event. But you meet this person, and what I would suggest is that you ask them what they do, and they will tell you what they do for work, for a living, and they'll probably ask you. But when they ask you, rather than giving them some big statement about what you do and trying to get them interested in that, because right now they don't care about that, I would say, you might say what line of work you're in, but then you immediately go back to them and focus on them. I always say that if you really want to be a great conversationalist, do a lot less talking and a lot more listening. And the type of questions we ask a person communicates that interest, communicates that genuine feeling of wanting to get to know about them. So, for example, let's say this person you meet, we'll say his name is Gary, and he sells copying machines to businesses. And so you might ask him, Gary, how did you get started selling copying machines? Or how did you get your start as a copy machine professional? And this is an interesting question because it's not particularly clever or anything, but people love answering that question. Why? Well, because you're asking them to tell you their story. You're asking them to talk about themselves. This is a question that most people never are asked by people, right? And you're asking this person right upon meeting them, how did you tell me your story. I want to know about you. How did you get your start selling copying machines? Okay, so he answers that question and he probably is already beginning to feel good about you. And the second question might be sort of a follow-up to that, and it would be something like, what do you enjoy most about your work?
Especially if this person is not like passionate about copy machines.
Right, because what they'll end up saying probably is, well, when they know they can make a difference with, in the life of their customers, it's a really great feeling to know that I'm saving my customers so much money, or that I'm making their processes easier. And these are things, like you say, he may not have even thought before, right? But when you bring it now, you make him feel real. That makes him feel good, genuinely good about what he's doing. Now, here's another question to ask. I call this the one key question that will separate you from practically everyone else this person's ever met. And that's to say, Gary, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with would be a good prospective client for you?
That's like the direct question. Is it? Is it like too much of a direct question? For example, I talked to Michael, and he believes that you shouldn't like directly ask for referrals or for a contact. No,
you're not asking me for a referral.
Okay.
No, you're asking him how you can refer him.
Yes, man. I understand. Yes.
No, right. You're saying to him, so Gary, I love connecting good people like you with other good people. Tell me, how can I know if someone I'm speaking with would be a good prospective customer for you?
For you, yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
So no, that's okay. And so that is something that, now he's seeing you as this very, very special person, and he's going to be able to answer that question, and he's going to feel, wow, that's a person I want to get to know. This is it, right? So that's how right from the beginning you can communicate value. You begin that relationship. And one of my big sayings that I've probably become probably most known for, I guess, is all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And this first conversation is simply the first step in getting a person to really begin to know, like, and trust you.
So I would like say you don't have like a great opinion on taglines or elevator pitches, or?
Well, it's in their
depends on the context.
Place. Pardon?
It depends on the context, right?
It depends on the context. When you first meet someone, though, they don't care about you. Not yet. They don't care about your business, your product, your service. Everybody else gives them their elevator speech, right? You're the only one who doesn't. You're the person who focuses on them. Now, there are times for an elevator speech when you're going up in front of a bunch of investors. You need to be able to give them a good. Now, I even, instead of an elevator speech, I like to call it a benefit statement, which is an elevator speech tends to be longer and about yourself. A benefit statement is more about what they or someone they know, how they would benefit. So a financial advisor might say, we help people create and manage wealth. You know, that's just but there's a time and place for it. So example, one of the person says to you, you know, that you've asked this person about themselves, and you know they really appreciate that, and they may want to respond, but you know, after that by saying, so you know, Karen, what do you do? And Karen says, well, I'm a financial advisor. We help people create and manage wealth. Fine, that's wonderful. He is now open to it because he's really asked to know more about what she does.
Yeah. So can you explain us a bit on your law of 250? What does it stand for?
This is something I learned years ago in a book by a man by the name of Joe Girard. And Joe, until last year, actually, Joe was the all-time record holder for number of cars sold in any one year. And these are all new cars, not individual new cars, not fleet sales or anything like that.
Is Joe the guy who wrote like 10,000 handwritten notes a year?
That was Joe Girard. Yeah. And and he was a car salesperson, and that was Joe. Now his record was beaten last year by a guy named Ali Rita, also from a suburb of Detroit. And who beat Joe's record, and Ali's just a great guy, a wonderful guy. So Joe Girard had come up with what he called his law of 250, and it simply said that everyone knows about 250 people. And what he did is the way he discovered this was, one time he was at a wedding, and he asked the caterer about how many people are usually invited, and the caterer said about 250. Several weeks later, he was at a funeral, and he asked the funeral director about how many people usually come to pay their respects, and said about 250. Now, to me, those numbers are a little high on each of those, but nonetheless, if we were to just think of all the people we know and write down their names without qualifying them, don't worry about them being prospects or customers or well, it probably wouldn't be very many, because it's hard to think of people just to come and think of people. But then if we started to let's say, go through the job classification alphabet, beginning with A, who do you know who's an accountant? And just write down those names. A, who do you know who sells automobiles? All right. Who do you know who's in advertising? Write down those names. Then B, who do you know who's a banker, a baker? C, who do you know who's a chiropractor? And we went down. A lot more names would come up, and certain names would remind you of other names. Now, let's say we go to the white, you say yellow pages, white papers. I'm dating myself because I don't even have those anymore. Those used to be big directories, telephone directories, but nowadays kids don't even know what they are. So if you were to go on the computer and put down a list of last names, starting with A, you know, Ackerman, Atchison, Anderson, and you know, I mean, obviously, in your country they'd be, you know, Croatian names, but whatever country you're in, and write down the names of people you know with those last names, and then first names, and all these different. It would come really close to 250 people. Mm-hmm. Now, what this says is that most of us, in our natural sphere of influence, the people we somehow, some way know, whether immediate family, distant relatives, close friends, sometimes acquaintances, the person who delivers the mail, the plumber, the person who cuts your hair, whoever it happens to be, most people know about 250 people. So now let's take it to another level. Mm-hmm. Every time you meet one new person, and you're able to cultivate a relationship with that person where they feel so good about you, they know you, they like you, they trust you, they want to see you succeed, they want to tell other people about you. In other words, they want to be your personal walking ambassador. Yeah. Every time you do that with one new person who knows 250 people, you've just added an additional potential 250 people to your list of potential prospects. Mm-hmm. Now, does it ever come out that high? Well, you could cut that in half and cut it in half and cut it in half again. If you're out there meeting people on an ongoing, everyday basis in a way that's comfortable for you and in a way that's comfortable for them, and you're creating these relationships consistently and constantly, in no time at all, your personal sphere of influence will just grow and grow and grow.
How long will it take?
Well, it starts now. It starts as soon as you begin doing it. Okay. Yeah. So the question is, when you meet someone new, how long does it take you before that person either does business with you, if they ever do? Because remember, someone might not need, if you're a realtor and that person never needs to buy or sell a home, well, you're not going to do business with that person. But remember, they know 250 people, right? So you never know, right? But let's just say you have a product or service and you meet someone and they could be a potential. How long until they buy from you or refer you to someone else? Does it take a few days? Does it take a few weeks? Does it take a year or 6 months or 6 weeks or 1 week, 3 days and 7 hours? Yes. Yep. Who knows? It just, that's why you want to keep building these relationships constantly. Some are going to happen very quickly if the timing is right. Others are going to take a while to occur. Sometimes it might be, 5 months before this person does business with you. They love what you do, and now all of a sudden they're referring you to everyone you know.
Do you have like a system to track on your follow-up, every conversation you're having with the new people you meet? Or you're just like the go-giving person and you believe that everything will like come back?
Being a go-giving person doesn't mean you don't have good business fundamentals and business skills. Sure, I suggest that. We have a little thing that for the people who in our course where we have them put down who they contacted, how they contacted them, what was the result, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
I mean, what can be measured can be improved. So we always want to know, what we're doing right, what we can be doing better. Sure.
Okay, Michael, can you tell us a bit on the 5 laws of the stratospheric success?
Sure. The 5 laws themselves are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. The first law is the law of value. And this law says your true worth, in the business sense, of course, because we all have worth personally, but in the business sense, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, this sounds, when you first hear it, a little counterintuitive. If more in value than you take in payment, that sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy. So we have to understand the difference between price and value. Price is a dollar figure. Pardon me, because you don't use dollars, do you? What's
we use kunas.
Yeah. Okay, so price is a kunas figure. Okay.
Or euros. Yeah.
or euros, kunas or euros. It's that figure
Yeah.
that you use. It's finite. It is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth to another human being that they will exchange their kunas or euros for this, and be glad they did, while you also make a very healthy profit. For example, let's say you hired an accountant to do your taxes, okay? And they charge you, and we'll just name a round figure, 1,000 kunas, okay, to do your taxes.
And you're right.
That's their fee, or that's their price, right?
Yeah.
But what value do they give you in exchange that makes it so worthwhile for you? Well, through their hard work, their dedication, they're getting to know you and your business, what you're looking to achieve, and so forth. They're able to save you 5,000 kunas that you wouldn't know how to save for yourself. They save you countless hours. They provide you and your family with security and the peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly. So what this accountant did was give you well over 5,000 kunas in value in exchange for 1,000 kunas payment.
Yes.
So he gave you more in value than what he took in payment. So you feel great about it. And he also made a very, very healthy profit.
If you can recognize this value, right? But what if someone can recognize the value?
Value is always in the eyes of the beholder, okay? It's not what we find to be of value in what we do. It's what the customer finds to be of value. It's not the customer's responsibility to figure out that.
So we can say, like, we have a go-getter, we have a go-giver, and we can have a go-taker.
Yeah, well, see, to me, a go-getter is a good thing, because a go-getter is a person of action.
Yeah,
I want people to be go-getters, and we want people to be go-givers, because go-givers focus on bringing immense value to others. A go-taker is someone who's focused just on themselves. They're focused just on what they can take from others without adding value to the other person, to the process, to the situation. And they tend to not be sustainably successful.
Can you spot a go-taker? Or how fast can you spot a go-taker?
I think that's a good, because whether we can spot them or not, some people are really good fakers. You know, some people are good actors, and they can fake being a go-giver when they're really a go-taker. But usually it comes to the surface.
Could you, like, in one sentence, describe who is a go-giver?
Well, it would be that person who is focused. I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, it's that Michael Mayer is a go-giver. He's a guy who's always focused on bringing immense value to other people. I'm sure you're a go-giver. I'm sure many of your viewers and listeners are go-givers. It's simply understanding that shifting your focus off of yourself and placing it on that other person isn't only a pleasant way of conducting business, it's the most financially profitable way as well. And not for some way out there reason, but for very logical reasons. Remember, nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet, right? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money, or even just because you're a nice person. They're going to buy from you because they believe they will be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And what that simply means is that the entrepreneur or salesperson, that person who can focus immensely on that other person, bringing them value, that's the person who creates the context where the trust occurs and the sale takes place. This is why Johnom Davidom Mannom and I say that money is simply an echo of value. Right? It means the value must be the focus. The value you're providing another human being. The value comes first. The money you receive is a natural result of the value you've provided.
So these laws of stratospheric success, you believe that this is like the preferred mindset of a business person, or you should generally behave as a go-giving person? Wouldn't that exhaust you? Like wouldn't that exhaust you to be like a go-giving person towards anyone you meet?
No, I don't know why it would. I mean, does it take any more effort to be kind than it does to be nasty?
Yeah, let's say like 500 people invites you to join their podcast in the same week. You
Oh,
need
well, being a go-giver doesn't mean that you say yes to everyone. In fact, as a
okay.
go-giver, you're generally very successful and will be asked to do a lot of things that you simply don't have the time to do or can't effectively do. So you've got to be able to say no
Hmm.
a lot more than you say yes.
Hmm.
But a go-giver would do it in such a way that it's kind and it's tactful and it has that other person feeling valued
Okay.
as
Okay.
opposed to insult it. But there should never be a confusion that being a go-giver somehow makes you an easy mark for someone or a victim or a doormat or so. No, not at all. A
Okay.
go-giver simply is the one who understands the focus is on bringing value to others.
Thank you for defining the distinction.
Oh,
Wow.
thank you. My pleasure.
So the next law is law of compensation, right?
This one says that your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number one says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number two tells us that the more people whose lives we touch or impact with that exceptional value, the more money with which we'll be rewarded. So if we go back to your accountant in the first example, he did a great job for you in giving you much more in value than he took in payment while he made a very healthy profit. So you probably feel great about him. You would do business with him again next year.
And you would refer him, right?
And you'd
Or
refer
her.
him to others, exactly. And his other customers feel the same way. So our accountant is very quickly amassing that army of personal walking ambassadors. And as he continues to add exceptional value to the lives of more and more people, his income will continue to grow and grow.
Yeah, so it's like similar to the Zig Ziglar's mindset that your success is dependent on how many people
Right. You
you've
can have
helped, right?
everything in life you want if you'll
Yeah.
just help enough other people get what they want.
Yes.
That was Zig's most powerful to me. And I mean, he was such a wonderful, amazing human
Yeah.
being, speaker and teacher. And to me, that one sentence just said it all.
Yes. On the topic of the law of compensation, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next principle is influence.
Yeah, law number three, the law
Yeah.
of influence. And this
Yeah.
says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interest first. Now, this again sounds counterintuitive, right? But then you think about it. The greatest leaders, the top influencers, the highest money earning salespeople, this is simply how they run their lives and conduct their businesses. They're always looking out for the other person's interest, looking for ways to bring value to them, solve their problems, make their lives better. Now, again, I want to make sure to qualify that sentence by saying that when we say place other people's interests first, we don't mean you should be a martyr or that you should be self-sacrificial or doing anything that's harmful to you. No, that's not it.
Okay.
It's just understanding, again, as Joe, the protege in the story, learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business, as you and I were talking about earlier, is that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like and trust. Well, you know, Sasha, there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to cause these feelings toward you in others than by genuinely and authentically moving from that I focus to that other focus, looking for ways to, as Sam, one of the mentors in the story, advised Joe, make your win all about the other person's win.
Can you give us a personal example on this law of influence? Do you have like, how do you behave in a term to like respect the law of influence?
Well, what can you do for another person? What kind of resources can you help them to attain?
So is it like, sorry, is it like in the first example of the conversation with the copying guy, right? To ask him how you can help him.
Sure, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
It's connecting other people. It's
Mhm.
introducing two people to one another that you think would be a great, match, just that they could benefit each other. It's sharing your resources, sharing information with people. It's also asking, how does my marketplace, how do they benefit from this? And what do I need to do to make sure that I am giving them the benefits and the advantages that they need to help them even
Mhm.
further? So all
Mhm.
those things.
So I believe you have a lot of friends, a lot more than 250.
Yeah, probably just because I've been doing this and been around for a long time.
Yeah, because Michael said he has like a book of 150 ambassadors. Like
Oh,
he
there you
has
go.
this big book with all the information about his ambassadors. Do you have something like that?
No, I don't keep that. I don't keep it that formal like Michael does. But I can very much believe that about him. There's a lot of people who love him and just credit their success with
Yeah,
Michael's
cool.
teaching.
Thank you. We have another two laws. I think you can do it at the same time: the law of authenticity and the law of receptivity.
Yeah, well, authenticity just is the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself, and that was Deborah in the story who shared a lesson that all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are all very important, they're also useless if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core.
Mm.
But when you show up as yourself, okay, day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel safe with you. They know who they're getting, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And people crave consistency. We want to know that the same person we see today is going to be the person we see next
Yeah,
time. And
I personally believe that consistency is number one reason why someone would trust you and why you are influential. If you
yeah,
don't have consistency in your behavior, you cannot be an influential person. Would you agree?
well, we've all met people. I do agree. We've all met people who are one way one day, and then the next time you
Yeah.
see them, they're totally different. They may be the nicest, most helpful, kindest person in the world and then you see them the next time, and they're a monster. And you almost wish they would just always be a monster, because at least then you'd know what to expect. And again, as human beings, we crave consistency. This goes back to the cave person days, when every day was a matter literally of surviving the day. So you had to know who in that group of people in your tribe, you had to know who was benevolent and who was
Hmm.
malevolent, who might protect you and who might kill you. You had to know what the bended leaves meant, and the bended twigs, and the footprints in the dirt. You had to know, everything had to be consistent. It was literally, not figuratively, literally a matter of life and death. Well, of course, we don't have that same challenge now today, but that craving, that need for consistency has been hardwired into our beings, into our DNA.
Yeah.
And so we still have that same desire for our world to be consistent, to be able
Uh-huh.
to figure out what it is and understand our world.
Uh-huh.
So that's why consistency, and that's why authenticity is such a big part of consistency.
Yeah.
In terms of the law of receptivity, that simply says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And this is so very important. It's really saying that, yes, we breathe out, and we also have to breathe in,
Mm.
right? In order to sustain life, you can't do one or the other. You've got to do both. You breathe out carbon dioxide, breathe in oxygen. Breathe out, which is giving, and breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. They work as a team, giving and receiving. But the focus must be on the giving, because that's the way the world
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Okay, we give, and we give value to, right, and then that creates that benevolent context for us to receive, and then we've got to be willing to
Hmm.
receive. And sometimes that's a problem on an unconscious level, because the world around us gives us horribly negative messages about money, about abundance, about prosperity. Uh, if you watch the news or listen to people or whatever, you would think people who are wealthy, they did it somehow badly, illegally. They stepped on someone else to get there. They stole. They were dishonest. Now, it's a big world, so of course there are examples of that. But by and large, most of us in business, right? No one's forced to buy from us.
Yeah.
So in order to make a lot of money, receive a lot of money, we've got to provide exceptional value to others, to many others. We must put their interests first because they're buying for their reasons, not our reasons. We must be authentic and we must be able to receive.
Yes, yes. I've read somewhere that almost or probably more than 80% of every business, every transaction that's made in the world went through some kind of a form of the referral. For example, if we see a billboard, we don't buy because we see a billboard. We buy because someone put a little sentence in our mind, so the billboard was a trigger.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know what the figures are as far as the 80% or whatever, but it wouldn't surprise me because we tend to, buy because, especially today, and especially with the internet now, right? It's very easy. It's much easier to look something up online to see what people are saying about it. There's not an old saying, it's almost a new saying. It's, if you want to know how we'll help you, ask the internet. Right. Yeah. And so in other words, you can check that person's business out by going on to Google or one of the other search engines, and you can find out. And that's a referral in and of itself, right? That's the Robert Cialdini in his great book, Influence, Science, and Practice, called that social proof.
Yeah, so I believe that the law of value comes from the first law, a law of reciprocity, or your law of value.
Reciprocity, where ours is receptivity, and reciprocity for him, and what he wrote about was that as human beings, we feel as though we want to give, to do something for someone who's done something for us.
Yeah.
So that's also that's a wonderful way, and that's a great law, as long as it's used authentically and as long as it's not used as a way to manipulate another person. But yes, when we do good for others, when we focus on bringing value to other people, indeed, people want to bring value to us.
Yeah, they want to reciprocate, right? Yeah, but we need to have a system.
Systems are important. I define a system as the process of predictably achieving a goal. And it's based on a logical and specific set of sort of how-to principles. The key is predictability. If by doing A, it's been proven you'll get the desired result of B, then you know that all you need to do is A and continue to do A and continue to do A, and you'll get the desired results of B. Yeah. So I believe systems are very important. It's just that we as human beings need to be in control of the system. The system needs to work for us. We cannot be controlled by the system.
Yeah. Can you tell me about two questions? Do you believe in 100% referral marketing, and what is attraction marketing?
Well, so 100% referral marketing is, of course, ideal. I mean, that would be great. I'm not. And there are probably people, I'm sure, who hit that figure. For me, my feeling is you should also probably never stop prospecting even outside your referral market, because you always want to have new people coming in. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's wise to never totally stop prospecting even outside that referral network. As far as what is attraction marketing, well, that there are two types of ways that's defined. One is simply on the very basic level, it's attracting people to you based on what you do. Okay, but it's also more formally, it's creating information that you're posting out there, or in terms of let's say, for instance, a special report, 10 steps on how to so and so, or a free video on how to do this or that. And what you're doing is there's many ways to do it, whether you're placing ads, whether you're on podcasts, whether you're however you're doing it, speaking somewhere and getting people to submit their email address for it or whatever in exchange for this. Well, that's attraction. You're basically asking people, in a sense, who may be interested one day to raise their hands and say, yes, I'm the type of person who would want that information. meaning one day I might want that particular product or service. And that's called attraction marketing. And again, I think that's great to do. But see, I'm not a one or the other type of person.
Yes, yeah.
I think I think outbound is also important.
Yeah.
Inbound, which takes place through attraction marketing, is also important. And so sometimes I'll see people saying, well, it's all about inbound now, or well, it's not all about inbound.
Yeah.
Inbound is great. And it's also about outbound. So I think using various ways, you get to see which works best and how you're best able to serve the most people.
Yeah. And I have a last question for you.
Sure.
We've spoken about what are the pros of the referrals or for receiving your referrals, right? What are like the 2 or 3 cons of the referral system? What's the negative? What would be negative?
I don't think there's anything negative in and of itself about it. It's a great way to do business, but there are things that can happen that are negative. For example, someone is referred who is really not your ideal prospect.
Yep.
So someone's referring people to. So if that happens once or 12 or whatever, what you would do is you would thank that person who referred you. I so appreciate the trust you've put in me, and just honored to know that you would entrust me with taking care of your so-and-so. Let me give you, if I may, just a bit of an idea about who would be a prospect, a great person to refer, who I could help. Boom. And so in a very kind and tactful way, you teach them who not to refer you to and who to refer you to. You could be referred to someone who's just not a nice person, and you kind of wish you weren't referred to them. And so you'll handle it as you handle it. But, that's part of business.
Yeah, but the point here is that you need to educate your clients. Who are your ideal clients?
Exactly.
Who to talk about you and who they shut up about you, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bob, for your time. I know you were I know you usually do like 30-minute interviews, but we on sort of Strasti do like 100. We do like an hour and a half interviews. So I really appreciate your time. I wish you very well. I'm following you on social networks, and
thank you, Sasha.
I'm really, really grateful for joining and sharing your knowledge on Croatian podcast Surove Strasti, Bob.
Thank you. I greatly enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.